Hey everybody, I'm back reviewing another animated classic, Sinbad, The Legend of the Seven Seas. Before we continue, please do me a huge favor, like this video, leave a comment below, follow me in the links in the description below, such as my YouTube channel, Patreon, and Twitch. Now, uh, this is probably one of the earliest, because this is a DreamWorks film, but not just any DreamWorks film. This was one of the earliest DreamWorks films, uh, uh, co-founded by uh, Jeffrey Katzenberg. Uh, then right after, 4 years later, The Prince of Egypt came around. So you can tell, like, the quality, because they took a lot of uh, well, the guy obviously worked with Disney, and not too dissimilar to with James Gunn, understood the blueprints and modify it for what DreamWorks would be today. And this story is based off of one of the stories of 1001 Arabian Nights tales, which Aladdin also is based off of. So just a little inside info for you guys. This is directed by Tim Johnson and Patrick Gilmore, written by John Logan. It stars Brad Pitt as Sinbad, Catherine Zeta-Jones as Ambassador Marina, Michelle Pfeiffer as the Greek goddess of discord and chaos, Iris, Joseph Fiennes as Prince Protus of Syracuse, Dennis Heisbert as Kale, Sinbad's first mate, Adreno Gianni as Rat, the lookout for Sinbad's crew. And we got Timothy West as King Damas. I keep wanting to say dumbass. King Damas of Syracuse. So yeah, it's one of the big success stories of combining 2D animation and computer animation, which blends pretty well for the most part. Of course, over time we get to see this a lot more perfected, but given that it was like 2003 or 2002, it holds up pretty well. Not gonna lie to you. So anyway, it's kind of like a good mismatch of Greek and Middle Eastern cultures, and a tiny little bit of Italian. Sinbad is a famous, pirate, essentially. Got rich with plundering and wants to pull off one heist before he and his crew pretty much retire to Fiji. That's their overall goal. That's what they want to do. Just live off their riches, pretty much. And uh, the crew ends up hijacking a Syracuse vessel, and of course, that's where Sinbad reunites with the captain, who's his childhood best friend, and he notices this mysterious book in his quarters called the Book of Peace. Yes, that's what they're calling it, because Hell, even in the Mummy, you got like the Book of Amnon Ra, so it could at least give it some kind of, you know, catchy original name to make it stand out. But I get it. You know, it's a Book of Peace is supposed to represent that, you know, different, you know, islands of community or whatever, has like a look at this as like a sign of unity and everything like that. But you don't have a thesaurus. You could have called it something else. Like, matter of fact, not matter of fact, because it literally did bug me as personally, uh, uh, because I thought it was so, that part. I don't know why it got under my skin, because it's like that is lazy of a title. Okay, thesaurus. Okay, I'm gonna put in peace. What options could we get with peace? We got accord, friendship, love, reconciliation, truce, unity, amity, armistice. That could have been a good one. The Book of Armistice. They make it like a good standout kind of name. Cessation, conciliation, concord, Book of Concord. That's kind of make it stand out. Book of Neutrality, order, pacification, pacifism, treaty, humanity, amity, union, harmony, tranquility, equanimity, contentment, congeniality, composure, placidity, quietude, repose, stillness, sympathy. Like, come on. Matter of fact, I think like armistice is probably like the best one in my opinion. It's like you can still got what you want. I don't know. It's just, I'm sorry. It's just like, God, that was like, personally, there's certain things that happens in movies that, you know, certain lines or words that, I don't know. It's just like, come on. Book of Peace. It's like something like you see from like a preschool, kindergarten type of animated cartoon, just to make it simple for children. Like, like it's like the Book of Poison, or the Book of like the Book of Sensation, like the Book of Goodwill. It's like very, you know, preschool, kindergarten level word. And like I get it, this is, you know, can be seen for children, but you can also see by anybody of anybody age. It's like, and you can teach a kid a new word. I don't know. I don't know why that, you know, that bugged me, but it did. It's like, it's random things like that can bug a person this out of the blue. It's like, God, it's just like, come on, you could have picked up a thesaurus and picked any word. Anyway, so this neon blue constellation type of book, don't even know what it does. It has some kind of strange aura or power that kind of, matter of fact, they never really explain what it does outside of it. You know, it's kind of like a symbol to get people to get along. But I guess without it, people's like, what, stop trusting each other? Matter of fact, this kind of reminds me of that, what's that movie that came out in 2020? Raya and the Last Dragon. It has kind of similar things to where there's like an item that kind of, you know, is a symbol to get people to get along with each other and trust each other and things of that stuff. Then once it's taken away, then not only there's mistrust because one of the communities took it, but this evil ethereal thing starts turning people into stone. Uh, uh, so at least there's some type of like a literal consequence of this being taken away, and there's a actual power in play. This one is just no more than a symbol. As that part is like, man, this book of peace is kind of like you could have done something with it. You see it show off some type of power at the end, but let's be honest, it's nothing more than a light show. So I thought that was kind of personally lame. On top of it having like a very basic bitch title. Anyway, so Sinbad, gets the idea. Okay, I'll steal this, and whichever one of you communities wants it back, y'all can make a bid for it. I don't know. I don't care which. Honestly, and of course he's one of those kind of nice pirates. But let's be honest, he's a pirate. He probably had to kill quite a few people to get to where he is. You don't get too far being like the cool, nice pirate. He probably has more honor than most pirates. But, given his crew, they killed quite a few people. Anyway, Sinbad's friend Proteus, begs him, "Hey, if our friendship meant anything back then, please don't steal this from me." And of course, they get in a brief sword fight until a sea monster starts attacking. Now, the sea monster is sent by Eris, which is voiced by Michelle Pfeiffer. Now, I want to make a point about this here and now when I'm talking about her. She, like many, cartoonish or animated females, has been regarded as the hottest, animated females in pop culture history. Mostly because the way, the animators has some fun with this particular character. The way, the movie opens with her, just, she takes a bubble bath with little orbs that see through what's going on Earth. She's just like swaying along the stars. It's the way the movement, because I appreciate animated movies and TV shows a lot because there's so much science behind it. I find so fascinating. And the fact that you can tell a lot about a character just by the way they move, because it says a lot, because it's very distinct and separates them from the rest of the characters. And it's kind of like looking at the original animated Grinch, where he moves a very particular way, very with purpose, and just like you can just feel the bitterness with every step, while his dog Max moves more pep in his step. Before any words are kind of uttered from them, Eris has that same feeling. She has sex appeal and mysteriousness, because most people with black raven-like hair has always been attributed to being kind of mysterious. And it's just just her eye movements, and she doesn't even have to yell all that much, which is kind of unique in terms of certain villains, where you don't need to yell to get your point across. She has immense power. And given the fact that she's Greek, because growing up, I always thought, this was kind of like in the world of like, I don't know. When I saw this as a kid, my thought isn't like, oh, this is a part of a Greek kind of thing. I didn't know Eris was a Greek deity when I was a kid. I don't even think I was too in depth in different types of cultures, pantheons like that. At least not yet. I always found them fascinating, but I didn't really do too much deep dives as of yet. I mean, I think around that time, I was learning about like Egyptian pantheons and stuff. And then I learned a little bit of the Greeks, but more so like the main headliners. But I didn't know anything about Eris because Eris is a legit Greek god of discord, and she's the child of Nyx. Oh, this is kind of goddess of night, which is gonna make sense because she's literally like just always in shadow or in space and surrounded by constellations that are her pets. The whole scenery with her is always the best use of animation that they have, where they took full advantage of that. So yeah, this is like this character is fascinating. Michelle Pfeiffer really adds a lot with this character. She was like the pitch perfect character for the actor for this character. Just that sultry feminine voice that kind of just lures you in. And that's what you probably need with a character like this. You need that particular voice that lulls you in with that kind of, because she has that voice. Mostly because it's probably, because he was Catwoman. And, she has that, I don't know. Because honestly, when I was a young kid, Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman was kind of like my sexual gateway. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. That was that when I saw her in Batman Returns. That was that click for me. It's when like I knew, it's when like that my sexual awakening. That's the word. She was definitely my sexual awakening as a kid. Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, and it's probably the reason I got a theme for bad girls, especially in animated or anime type of content. And I think a lot of guys, see Eris as one of the hottest animated women ever. Anyway, I just thought I'd dump all my love on Eris here and now before I continue on with the story. Anyway, so she sends one of her sea creature constellations down to Earth, and the transition is amazing. It's kind of like she's in this otherworldly plane looking down, and she just plops something, and it just comes straight from the air, and without anybody noticing, and it just starts rising up out of seemingly nowhere. I thought that whole entire sequence is very uniquely done. So the sea creature starts attacking the Proteus ship, and two best friends start fighting side by side, slicing and dicing the tentacles. And thanks to Sinbad's quick thinking, he uses the two masts on Proteus ship to stab at this freaking thing. But one of the tentacles is about to snatch up Proteus. Sinbad pushes him out the way while he gets dragged. And despite Proteus' attempts to try to jump in after him, the crewmates, stops him. And that's where Eris introduces herself to Sinbad and makes a deal with him that if he steals the Book of Peace for her, she'll give him, whatever he likes. So he strikes an accord. She sends him back up, and so he tells his crew that their next mission is to steal the Book of Peace, and they ain't try to bother trying to attack the ship. It's no point because they know where it's gonna go. So they end up showing up under the guise of friendship to Proteus' kingdom, and that's where he sees Marina, Proteus' soon to be betrothed, and that's when he just quickly has a change of heart, sees her, and it's like, yeah, I can't do this. So that's where Eris decides to, disguise herself as Sinbad. But not only just do that, the way she does it was so unique and creative. I don't think I ever seen that have been done since, because it was so freaking creative. The fact that she creates a duplicate, but it's like a puppet or a shell, and she just hops inside, kind of like, Men in Black with like the Eggert suit thing. And she just hops inside, like it's literally like a hollow puppet with no eyes. She just hops inside, and it's kind of, she fills in the rest. I thought that was like a great use of animation, great transition. It was, the whole thing was very well done in that one shot. That was very unique, very creative. And of course, a lot of the animation is a good combination of 2D and computer generated animation, and it's kind of blends so seamlessly, or you can tell the distinction, but your mind is just accepting it as like, yeah, this works. All this works. So she ends up stealing the Book of Peace, and Sinbad gets blamed. But Proteus, after looking his friend in the eye and asking him directly, did you actually steal it? And of course he says no, because his friend's like, no, he knows his friend is like, no, like he won't lie to me, and I'll be able to tell because I knew him for such a long time. And besides, if he did steal it, why would a man stick around? Anyway, so he's, because the Book of Peace is stolen, and the dangers of the other islands worrying about, with the symbol gone, it's like, okay, like how they lost it, how can we trust anybody? Well, it's never fully explained. We don't see any of the other people from these other lands. Well, I guess they're at that party, but we don't really get time to really know any of them. But it's just like, okay, what is the real danger? You just can't trust without no symbol. It's not. I guess it's not too dissimilar to some real world stuff, but by and large, people don't need objects to represent any type of symbol of trust. Well, then again, that's the whole point of the olive branch metaphor, and then the white flag. But you know what I mean. You lean too hard into the whole book thing, but it's like, show me some actual, consequence, and the whole mistrust really cultivate. But anyway, they're threatening to lop off Sinbad's head in retaliation for him, seemingly stealing the book. But Proteus, acknowledging his best friend would not lie to him, and he's swearing up and down that this Greek figure stole it instead. So he offers himself in his stead, that he trusts that Sinbad will go find Eris and get the book back in time, and then that way the crime will be essentially erased. But despite the king's protest for his son to just offer up his life, uh, and, well, the way they put it, well, their friendship, clearly they hung out a lot. The father never met Sinbad before now. It doesn't really show any level of history between those two, because you imagine these two rugrats running around causing trouble or whatever, because you got to build that backstory of how they met in the film. But the father never met this kid. It's supposed to be like his son's best friend, but despite him being against it, it was the only way to ensure that they get the book back, because Sinbad is the best bet here, and he actually the one to know. He's the one that knows the location. So the other council members, agree that okay, you got 10 days to go there, get the book back, and come back. Otherwise, we'll execute Proteus. So Marina, being upset that is going down, she sneaks aboard on, well, not necessarily sneaks, he bribes her way on board to Sinbad's ship to make sure he goes through with finding the book and coming back. Even some of his crewmates was kind of like hesitant on just abandoning what is supposed to be his best friend to die. But he ends up agreeing. On their way, Eris decides to throw in some obstacles along the way. First being some sirens. And just by sheer comedic timing, where Sinbad and Marina had this back and forth about, women don't need to be on a ship is bad luck, which technically it is historically accurate, where pirates view, or at least anybody who's like commanding a ship on the sea, view women on board to be a bit of bad luck. It just, it's one of those kind of superstitions, like, I guess the crew won't be able to concentrate, on their duties while there's a female present on board. And that's why, like, if a female had to be on board, it's usually had to be in a room somewhere, not a distraction. That's typically where it's probably coming from, because it's like on high seas, urges come about, or at least pent up urges, and it's kind of like, I can't focus. You catch my drift. So right on cue, these sirens sent by Eris is supposed to lead these ships into crashing, because the Greek tales of the sirens, they has like a melody that lulls any man on the high seas into their direction. They get hypnotized. They lose any sense of their self. But since I guess it doesn't work on the dog Spike, but since Marina is a female, she's not tricked. So she and Spike managed to pull the crew together, tie them up to the mast, while she's steering the ship away from the jagged rocks and out of the danger zone. And of course, thanks to some prodding from the crew, uh, Sinbad, hilariously is forced to apologize, for like, or at least not apologize, show his thanks for saving him and his crew's lives. Uh, then, uh, uh, Eris sends this creature called Rock, this mythical bird of Middle Eastern origins. I believe it's Middle Eastern origins. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of Greek, stuff in here, but a little bits of Middle Eastern influence here and there, which is nice. A nice little blend. I always find it fascinating when you blend two different cultures together that you don't think would have mixed. It's kind of like with the God of War games, where you got a lot of these Greek stuff mixed in with a lot of the Viking culture stuff, and it's kind of like a nice blend. I always thought that was, fascinating. But anyway, uh, there's Rockbird, who's kind of like, had the ice element powers, where it's like flying over stuff and causing like, things to ice up. The creature snatches up Marina. Sinbad goes to rescue her, and they end up doing this big sliding down this icy pathway, and managed to trap this bird in this giant, like, stone structure that's iced up, crushing it as they safely make it down to the boat. And they end up going to. Oh no, I got ahead of myself. Prior to the bird, they uh end up, on this island because the whole jagged rocks, through that siren situation, kind of messes a bit of the ship. So they dock seemingly on an island. It turns out to be like a giant fish. So they get back on the ship, which I haven't seen this movie in a long time. So like, part of me expected a couple of crew members to get, killed or eaten or something like that, but none of that ever happens, which I guess to some people might show kind of very low stakes, because there's no death for anybody. It doesn't need to be the main cast, but at least, one of the crew members. Even with Treasure Planet, the first mate there lost his life, and he was so charming and interesting that we immediately cared, and so it hurt a lot more when we saw him just die in that black hole because of backstabbing crewmate. So here, not a backstabbing crewmate, but at least some death along this big adventure with all these mythical creatures. But whatever. So they end up docking here, and then Sinbad throws a harpoon, sticks in the side of the fish while it's hauling the ship as far as it can, because the mast is kind of messed up, so they still need to get it fixed. So that's where they got close enough to the whole area where it's snowy and the whole bird thing happens, and they eventually get some stuff fixed up in the meantime. So while all this carrying on, we get certain downtimes with Sinbad and Marina, where they have some kind of heart to heart, share a bit of his backstory, how he was kind of smitten with her when he first laid eyes on her, but realizing that she was going to be meant for his friend, that's when he decides to, Syracuse wasn't for him anymore. So he found, a ship he can board, and he left, and he spent all that time learning how to be a pirate, got his own crew and his own ship, and pillaged and plundered, and the rest is history. That's when, because they following this star, you want to know how they get into Eris's place. Earlier in the film, she showed him if he would have taken the book, showed him where to go in order to find her. And I almost forgot. Okay, uh, you had all this power. You can easily commune with him anywhere you want to. Clearly, shown that earlier in the film under the water. Why do you need him to come all the way to your place where you can just, go straight to him, get the book directly from his hands, and that'll be that. Secondly, with all said power, why couldn't you steal the freaking book itself? Did it have any type of special protection or something? Clearly, it didn't, because you managed to snatch it up, in its chambers in the first place. So it's just like, you didn't need to involve this pirate at all if you were able to just do all this yourself. That's probably like the biggest con I have for this film that I want to address. All this, I know it wouldn't have a story otherwise, but I'm just saying, like, all this could have easily been avoided, this massive headache of hers, if she was just, okay, I'm a Greek god. I want this book. I'm going to take this book. Nobody's going to stop me unless it's going to be Zeus or somebody who outranks me. If not, I'm going to take what I want. It's like, of course, you can chop it up for her nature as a god of discourse. So, of course, she had to feed that beast, essentially. Whereas, like, I want to evolve him, because as much disharmony he will wreak along the way, all the better for me, because I thrive off of that. So that's probably like the only, thing that can allow me to rationalize why she does what she does. Otherwise, it's kind of like, you're a god. Like, how did Loki put it? Oh, I'm doing it. How did Loki put it? Hold on.
I am a god, you dull creature.
Exactly. One more time.
I am a god, you dull creature.
She's a god. It's like, because unless there's some kind of warding, some magical barrier or something like that, it makes no sense for her not to just grab it. Anyway, I thought I'd just hash that out there, because that part is kind of like, because I never thought about that when I was a kid watching this, because it was like a fun romp. I wasn't really actively trying to find like certain flaws in this for me to suss out, while simultaneously trying to enjoy the film. Because I'm still enjoying the fun ride, don't get me wrong, it's a fun adventure. But it's just like, now with your older brain, you can see like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. If you have all this power, why would you just not just take it? And I also want to bring up the fact that, some things like Sinbad does, I don't know about, ladies. I imagine it kind of works for you too. But for a guy, I don't know, it kind of speaks to us, because maybe it's just some kind of nature where, prior to modern technology, where at the very latest industrial evolution, people sailed the high seas all the time. They used to go on adventures, exploring, and being explorers, and treasure hunters, and just plain old sailing, or just discovering new places. Men used to do things like that because like that thrill. And of course, we don't really, thanks to the modern technology, all that stuff is not needed. It's not much for us to explore than what we already discovered, aside from maybe space, or how further deep under the ocean can we find without submarine crushing people inside, because of it. So you got things like movies and video games to kind of feed that nature, because we still have that nature to want to see the world, explore, do all this kind of stuff that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. I would love to, do the whole treasure hunting thing, like, Indiana Jones or adventurer, like, Rick O'Connell from the Mummy film. That seemed like fun, aside from the danger aspect of it. But that you get that kind of thrill of it, and thank God for movies like this and video games like this, because it kind of still feed that side of you, that not lizard brain, but that particular layer in your DNA that needs that to keep that spark a flowing. Anyway, they managed to make it to the destination, where it's kind of this big. Let's be honest. Now I'm thinking about it. It kind of looks like a giant vagina that you have to go through. I don't know if that was like some kind of, maybe just me, but maybe it's one of those kind of things where animators kind of, slip certain things in, no pun intended, where you won't notice, but adults might notice. So yeah, this looks like a giant vagina that they have to get through. And thanks to Sinbad's quick thinking, because they literally go over the edge, because I guess in this world, the earth is legit flat or something, because, they come to an edge, or maybe it's just like a representation of her domain that they're coming to, but the earth is legit flat. I mean, the earth is legit round. But when you get to this particular realm, it seemingly is coming to an end. So Sinbad gets his crew to turn the sails into wings to float on the air currents that he notices. While him and Marina use one of the ropes to swing in through the opening, while the others make it to safety. They end up in Eris's domain to try to get the book, but Eris makes a deal, saying that if he answered this question honestly, she will give him the book, and she crossed her heart, hope to die, stick a needle in her eye, which is like clearly a binding contract with everybody, even gods. And she asks, will he, if he doesn't get the book, will he still go back to face the consequences and allow himself to be beheaded? And he says yes. She calls him a liar, sends him and Marina back to the real world, where his crewmate's about to pick him up. So now he's disappointed, but Marina reassures him that he's a better man than he realized, and she knows his heart. So he shows up right before his friend's about to get his head lopped off. He took his place and he apologizes that he couldn't get the book back. So he's at the ready to get beheaded, accepting his fate. And then right before the point of contact, Eris shows up, angry. The fact that the fact that he's about to allow that to happen, because Sinbad realizes she is still testing him. Like, he said he will go back, and he said, like, you thought I wouldn't go back, but I did. So I told the truth. So by your contract, you have to give up that book. So she begrudgingly does. She kind of pisses off somewhere. All is well. The book is back. Everybody's kind of befuddled by the fact that, what the heck did we just see? Clearly, he just told the truth, and gods are real. So it's like, that's gonna take some getting used to with that fact. So now all that squared away, Sinbad and his crew about to sail off, ideally towards Fiji. But Marina is feeling sad, and Proteus take notices, and like, this is very much unlikely in a realistic scenario, but he sees that she has fallen for his friend, and I guess he realizes she wasn't all that into him or the whole idea of the arranged marriage situation. Uh, so he tells her to go because she always enjoyed the idea of being on the high seas. She has, you know, wants to see the world and has like a craving for adventure, but he doesn't want to, I guess, tie her down into this matrimony and being kind of stuck in a palace and what have you. So he tells her like, go be happy, blah blah blah. So she shows up on Sinbad's ship. They make out and they set sail for further adventure. And that's where the movie ends. Uh, Despite my issues with like, Eris not actually using her power to just take what she freaking wants instead of just, you know, uh, wasting time with this pirate, and the whole stupid title of Book of Peace situation. This was still like a fun adventure. Fun adventure on the high seas. You actually get to learn. Because honestly, I don't think many kids realize, maybe outside of Eris and maybe the Sirens, that they wouldn't be that familiar with something like the rock bird and other like certain labels of mythological origins. But it shows that the animators and the writers did that research to implore certain you know creatures in the myth, as well as bring into life one of the stories of 1001 Arabian Nights tales. So they did a very good job and did a research. It's a fun adventure on the high seas. The animation, once again, is impeccable. I think DreamWorks really gave Disney a run for his money, and still to this day giving Disney a run for his money in terms of animation. And I always am in awe with DreamWorks and their skills, the DreamWorks animator skills. But yeah, that was Sinbad, The Legend of the Seven Seas. So there's two more films next week that I'll be reviewing. Probably gonna be doing one on different days. All depends on what's going on next week. But they're Disney related. That's only the hint I'm going to give you guys. But I will see you guys soon. Pop in for some Marvel Rivals a little bit more. Take care, and I'll see you all later. Peace.